Hey everyone, and welcome back to our Fashion Design Explainer. Today, we are taking a massive leap. We're stepping right out of the theoretical realm and jumping straight into reality as we unpack Class 5, which is all about basic bodice block drafting. Let's see how the magic actually starts to happen on paper. So, tell me, are you ready to turn your measurements into a real paper pattern? In our last session, we looked at how to take accurate body measurements, right? Well, today, we're going to bridge that gap and transform those exact numbers into a tangible, physical paper draft. Think of this as the absolute blueprint for everything you'll create moving forward. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. From theory to practical. 2. Drafting preparation and ease. 3. The basic structure of the front bodice. 4. Armhole, seams, and waist start. And 5. Next steps after drafting. Section 1. From theory to practical. So moving on from our Class 4 theory on flat patterns, draping, and seam allowances, we are directly tackling today's big goal, actually drafting that front bodice block. Before drawing a single line, we really need to set up our workspace. Think of it kind of like an architect drafting a building. We're going to need pattern paper, or graph paper works too, a sharp pencil, an eraser, scissors or a sharp cutter, a ruler, and a French curve. We also need 4 specific pieces of personal data to build this foundation: your bust, waist, shoulder width, and shoulder to waist measurements. Just a quick heads up, we are only focusing on the front bodice today, mostly because the back bodice follows the exact same logic. Once you conquer the front, I promise the back is going to feel like a total breeze. Section 2. Drafting preparation and ease. This marks a really critical shift to the absolute most important mathematical step before we even start drawing. This brings us to a super important concept: wearing ease. This is literally the minimal amount of extra room we have to add to your actual body measurements. I mean, imagine taking a deep breath, or reaching for a cup of coffee, or simply sitting down. If a garment is made exactly to your skin-tight measurements with zero stretch, there's no way you'd be able to move. Wearing ease guarantees that your sloper allows for basic human breathing and movement. And remember, this is very different from design ease, which is what dictates the actual style of the garment. You know, like an oversized jacket versus a tightly fitted blouse. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how that concept is applied. For a basic sloper, the standard wearing ease added to the total bust circumference is about 5 to 6 centimeters. For the waist, it's just 2 to 3 centimeters. So let's say your bust measurement is exactly 90 centimeters. You wouldn't use 90 for the draft. You'd use 95 or 96 centimeters. That extra space, once it's distributed all around the body, is your breathing room. And you'll notice less is added at the waist. Why? Well, because it simply doesn't expand quite as much as your ribcage does when you breathe. Section 3. The basic structure of the front bodice. Now for the exciting part. We are finally putting pencil to paper. Keep in mind that the formulas we are unpacking today are a simplified beginner version of industry methods, like the metric or Aldrich systems. But don't worry, the core logic remains exactly the same. Let's take this nice and slow as we lay the foundation and frame our bodice. Step 1, frames or canvas. You're going to draw a vertical line equal to your shoulder to waist measurement, starting from point A at the very top down to point B. Okay, for step 2, we need our width. We take the bust measurement, add our ease, and divide by 4. Why 4? Because we are only drawing a quarter of the body right now. That gets us point C. Do the exact same thing at the bottom from point B using your waist measurement plus ease divided by 4 to get point D. Awesome, now we have a basic rectangle. In step 3, we carve out the neckline. Starting from point A, measure about 7 centimeters down and 7 centimeters to the right, and just connect those points with a gentle curve. Finally, step 4 is the shoulder. From the outer edge of that neck curve, you'll draw a line sloping slightly downward that is exactly half of your total shoulder width. Section 4, armhole, side seam, and waist start. This is where our flat rectangle really begins to mimic the shape of the human body.
We have our frame, so let's move right into the shaping phase. Step 5 is the armhole. We connect the outer tip of that downward sloping shoulder line we just made over to the outer edge of the bust line, which is point C. Using your French curve here is absolutely ideal to ensure you get a delicate, smooth curve under the arm rather than a weird, jagged angle. Step 6 is super simple. Just draw a straight line connecting point C down to point D. That gives you the side seam running down the ribs to the waist. Now, step 7, we need a waist start. We draw a triangular shape from the center of the bust point pointing straight down to the waistline, usually about 2 to 3 centimeters wide at the bottom. But why do we do this? Well, because a piece of paper is 2D and a human bust is 3D. The dart basically pinches out the excess flat paper around the waist so the fabric can shape perfectly over the bust. It creates a three-dimensional pocket, if you will.
Section 5. Next steps after drafting. Phew, the hard math and drawing part is done. Now we just do a final walkthrough of the draft, checking our work to make sure there are no sharp angles where there shouldn't be, and marking all our notches. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is a specific industry practice that happens at this exact stage. After checking the paper, the ultimate test is something called the toil, or the muslin test. Basically, this means taking your paper pattern, pinning it to a cheap piece of unbleached cotton, which we call muslin, cutting it out, and then just quickly sewing it together. Then you put it on a physical body or a dress form. It's essentially testing all that 2D math we just did in the actual 3D world. Listen, when you put that muslin on for the very first time, it might pull a bit at the shoulders, or maybe the dart is slightly off. Honestly, that is completely normal. Even professional pattern makers, people who have literally been doing this for decades, take 2 to 3 tries, constantly adjusting the ease and tweaking the curves before they prepare a final sloper. We call it a block because once those tweaks are finally perfect, it becomes a permanent, reusable base for hundreds of future designs. So think of it as a true investment of your time. So, your immediate homework from this lesson is to take your own measurements and draft a rough front bodice to see how it works. Specifically, I want you to check the placement of your waist start to ensure it actually points to your true bust point. And that leaves us with a choice for our next explainer. Do we keep this momentum going and conquer the back bodice block, or should we switch gears completely and dive into advanced color psychology? Let me know, and I will see you in the next one.